Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for February 17, 2021, the more bad news for Ericsson edition. And we begin with that story from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Mingy Sun reporting. Ericsson details serious compliance breaches it found in Iraq. It found evidence of numerous payment schemes and cash transactions that potentially presented a money laundering risk. They found breaches of compliance rules, the company's code of business ethics, and the company said it identified use of suppliers to make cash payments and improper use of sales agents and consultants. So all of this came about after the 2019 $1 billion plus settlement agreement by Ericsson with the Department of Justice for other FCPA violations. In October of this year, the DOJ notified Ericsson of 5 additional countries where FCPA violations had been uncovered, and this did not include these Iraq allegations. So some pretty serious allegations against Ericsson, and really speaks to a pretty broken culture. Let's hope they can turn it around. Next up, in a long-awaited development, Timothy Leissner takes the stand in the Roger Ng trial. Both former Goldman Sachs employees who made gabillions, if not simply millions, from bribery and corruption around the 1MDB scandal. Interestingly, Leissner told jurors that Ng was Goldman's lead banker on the 1MDB matter and had cultivated a relationship with the Malaysian financier J. Low starting in 2008. And Leissner testified that Low was the key decision maker at 1MDB. I don't think there's any dispute that Low held that position, but I think Roger Ng is going to really try and push it off on Leissner, who was the primary contact. Nevertheless, Leissner said they were both seen as heroes at Goldman Sachs, and I think that's true at the time, for bringing in all of this money. Of course, it ended up costing Goldman Sachs $3 billion plus and a completely destroyed reputation. Next up, from Al Jazeera, who contributes to the Daily Compliance News from time to time, a South African court has dismissed former President Zuma's attempt to remove the prosecutor from an upcoming trial. The dismissal came on grounds that Zuma's attempt to remove the prosecutor lacked reasonable prospects of success. Zuma's had been trying to get the lead prosecutor kicked off the case in an overall attempt to darken or move away from the corruption allegations which have been made against him. Our final story is the Department of Justice, of course, has a big investigation into short sellers, which has now included the well-known short seller Muddy Waters. So it's going to be interesting to see what direction the DOJ takes in this. If Muddy Waters is found to have violated the law, woe be gotten to short sellers. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.